On the line with me right now, we have a professional storm chaser and meteorologist, Logan Poole. Thanks so much for joining us. Logan, right now you are in Lake Charles, just across from the Golden Nugget. Tell us what you're seeing.
Conditions here are rapidly deteriorating. I would say just a couple of hours ago, it felt almost calm out. There was a little bit of a breeze, but we had the sun was setting. You could see the orange glow of the sun. And now the sun's gone, it's dark, and the winds have picked up dramatically. We've got power poles are shaking. We've had a lot of power flashes with that green, brilliant emerald color where power lines are either shaking into each other or transformers are exploding from high wind. So we're getting some of those tropical storm conditions here in Lake Charles, but conditions definitely changing very rapidly here. And as many hurricanes as I've experienced, this is one that I've noticed the change has been a little bit more rapid than maybe I had seen in the past.
Yeah, if our producer is listening, if we could get that live image courtesy of Storm Media on right now. Logan is, there we go. Logan is right next to where that live broadcast is coming from right now. Obviously, a lot of Southeast Texans know that image very well. That is the Golden Nugget. So, Logan, talk to us a little bit about what stands out to you about this storm that is so different than previous storms that we've endured in Southeast Texas.
Sure. I would say one thing that's really interesting to me has been just how dramatic the changes have been across the storm. So we've obviously had our friends, the hurricane hunters, flying their aircraft into this storm all day long, and we've been noticing that the winds are very tight in that eye wall, the area closest to that center of the storm, and we're really seeing that here. The eye wall felt still very much well offshore from Lake Charles, but we are seeing that the conditions are changing very dramatically. Averaging maybe 5 or 10 miles per hour increase in wind speed every half an hour now. And I guess it's most likely going to accelerate in how quickly that situation deteriorates. So heavy rainfall now continuing all the time. Now, we had initially start off in rain bands, or we have gusty winds accompanied by heavy rainfall and a break. Now it's consistent rainfall. Hasn't stopped for a while. I don't anticipate it's going to stop anytime soon, unless we do end up in that eye. We may get a brief break, but of course, only signaling that the storm will be halfway over at that point. So, a lot going on here. A lot of people in Southeast Texas probably remember Harvey. Big difference between that and this storm, I think, seems to be so far that we're looking at a more impactful, widespread wind threat as opposed to that catastrophic flooding that we had with Harvey a few years back. So that's a bit of a difference there. Hopefully, this storm continues to move and gets out of here fairly quickly instead of holding around like some of the storms in the past. So we're crossing our fingers that it's not as bad as it could be, but it's not looking good right now.
Absolutely, Logan. We are hoping that this thing moves out pretty quickly because it is very large. On the phone with us right now, Logan Poole, a meteorologist and professional storm chaser. Logan, I think a lot of folks are probably interested to find out why you've chosen to do this as your career, chase storms.
Well, I've obviously been educated in the classroom as a meteorologist, and I find that the natural laboratory is fascinating, being able to see here and connect the dots between what we learn in school and in the classroom setting and what we learn in the real world. Sometimes, trial by fire, that learning very rapidly in your face kind of education has been really good for me. It's a very scholastic experience, and I found that just one way that I like to continue my education and my professional development has been to be in the weather and understand better how it impacts people more so than just the dynamics and the physics of the atmosphere. So I've been here with you guys. I know what it's like, not just what I've read in books, and I think that adds to the professionalism that I can provide. So that's the reason I have chosen to move myself to near these active weather events.
Thanks for sharing that with us. Logan, at what point do you and your crew decide it's time to get some help and go inside? What's the plan?
We've gotten fairly good over the years at being able to visually and, using our data sources, whether that's radar or whether that's observations on the ground, to be able to tell, okay, at what point is it not safe for us to be out any longer. We know very, very much what our vehicles are capable of. We have multiple different vehicles that have different capability, whether that be high water vehicles or ones that are better suited to high wind and so on. And so we have a pretty good feel for it. We very carefully monitor the situation. We don't recommend anyone, attempt to do what we're doing. This is not our first rodeo, as it were. And so we have our safe areas of safety. We have people watching our exits to make sure that we don't get cut off by down power lines or trees or water. And so we're very carefully monitoring the situation. And we're certainly not just running around trying to see it as we can as it happens. No, we are very prepared. We have our areas of safety, and we are only going to be out in the elements as long as we feel we can safely do that, and we'll of course move to a safer place once that's required for us.
And these images on screen right now, folks, are coming to us from Live Storm Media, courtesy of them. Logan, I think from a scientific standpoint, something that really stands out and is very interesting about this storm, our team of meteorologists has said is different than others, is the amount of lightning that's happening near the eye, and that eye wall has really closed in, which means it's even more powerful. Is this one of the largest that you think we've dealt with?
In terms of eye size, it's almost near the average, the long-term average. So in terms of the size of the eye, it's not especially, unrealistic or unusual. But like you mentioned, the lightning is something that we really only often see in your most intense hurricanes. The last time I saw it, for example, and unfortunately for the people down in Rockport, they're very familiar with that, was Harvey. So when you're seeing that lightning in the eye wall, which is not typical of every hurricane, that signifies extremely powerful updrafts, convective thunderstorms that develop in the hurricane eye wall. And given that hurricanes are obviously very warm, there's usually not a ton of ice formation that gives you that lightning charging. So when you're starting to get significant lightning developing within the hurricane eye wall, that's definitely signifying an unusually high amount of energy being released there. So definitely a signal to us and you guys as well, I'm sure, that we have something serious we're having to watch out for. It doesn't look like it's weakening so long as that lightning is signifying those very strong towers going up in the eye wall.
Logan, any words of advice to those folks both in Southeast Texas and Louisiana that didn't heed those mandatory evacuation orders?
I wish I could have better news, but if you are in one of those areas that had a mandatory evacuation at this point, for example, like if you were in Southwest Louisiana near Cameron or Holly, you're in trouble. And if there's any possible way for you to save yourself, you need to do it now. If not, you need to seek higher ground and hunker down and hope for the best. It is not going to be a good situation for those places. I'm sorry if you've evacuated from there and you're listening. I wish I had better news for you. It's not good. Some of you guys are probably familiar with Rita. That was a very similar storm in terms of intensity and trajectory. It may be similar to that for some of those areas. So if you feel like you can safely leave and you're in one of those areas, even now, I usually don't tell people to leave when the winds start to get like this, but the water is that dangerous. You need to try your best to get yourself to safety. And, I'm going to leave it at that. We're getting to that point where, unfortunately, these folks are going to have a very hard time moving if you haven't already.
Thank you, Logan. Professional storm chaser and meteorologist Logan Poole. Thanks so much for your time tonight. Please be careful out there.
Sure, thank you.
And Greg, we saw this during Harvey. A lot of folks didn't want to leave their homes. We work so hard for our belongings, and our home is our safe place, and it's so hard to leave those things that you worked so hard for. However, those things can be replaced, and I know that it's easy to say right now, but your life cannot be replaced. And so Logan, a professional storm chaser that's been in too many hurricanes to count, saying right now, get out while you can, even though the winds are continuing to rise, get out soon.
Well, you're talking about evacuees.
Yeah.
And the situation was either get out of town or deal with something that could be very dangerous. And on the phone right now, I have